In case you haven't already heard, there's a sneak peek for, I guess, next week's episode. I guess technically you can get Sister Wives. You can get one of the episodes now by paying for it, but I'm not going to. But there's a sneak peek for next week's episode from E! Sister Wife, Robyn Brown, recalls threat, blah, 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 blah. They go to a pastor. These are co-pastors of the Commons Church. And right off the bat, they talk to them. They explain, Robyn explains their background. She mostly speaks. The girls speak very, very little, but they explain basically their history about how they were in Utah. They were in a polygamous family. They left their church. They talked to the pastor and are like, would we be welcome because we were from a polygamous church? And he's like, hey, yeah, no problem. They explain all this. And my first thought is, I do not remember the name of the church that the girls currently attend, but I knew it wasn't this church. And then I looked up the church, and this is a church, and they're an inclusive, progressive local church. They sound cool. I check them out. But what's interesting to me is my first thought is this does not sound like a church that Cody and Robyn would go to. Captain Patriarchy, all of that. Remember when Leon asked Mary and Janelle to go with them to the Women's March, and Cody was like, no, I don't like this politics, all of that. It's very clear that Cody does not fall in the inclusive progressive. So I thought it was really interesting that they highlighted this church, because I don't think they're actually, I mean, there's a possibility maybe they thought, well, hey, we'll start with a church that has the word inclusive because they're more likely to accept us as polygamous. But I'm just saying, based on my very extensive knowledge of Christianity and different denominations, and my extensive knowledge of watching Cody and Robyn speak for many, many, many seasons, I know that Robyn made a big deal about having a gay family member or friend, but I just don't think that this is in line with their values. So my thought was, why would they choose? Let's say that it has nothing to do with like searching out. My first thought was they picked a church that they thought might look good on TV. I understand why they are probably, I'll be interested to see if they actually show the church they end up going to. I can totally understand why they wouldn't. It's the same reason that I don't really like brag. I've mentioned roughly where I live, but I'm not telling you my exact address. I'm not talking about what school my kids go to. I've not mentioned what church I attend. Just a little bit of, some privacy. But I understand why they might not share the church they actually end up with. But I do wonder if the reason why Robyn, maybe I'm just jaded, but that she wouldn't pick a church that sounds really good. This church has a male and a female pastor. My church does as well. So this is not, but that is considered to be very progressive in most Christian circles. Right now, the Southern Baptist denomination has kicked out several churches that had any female on their staff that was listed as a pastor. Like, it's considered to be like a big, way out there, kind of thing. So it really surprises me that she would have picked this kind of church, just because I haven't seen anything that they have said to be in line with what is considered to be progressive in Christian circles. So that's really interesting to me. And it was also interesting to me that she spoke more than the girls spoke. And that Robyn, we're still doing that, like, when I tell people I'm polygamous, they're so awful to me thing. Because we've seen 19 seasons, and, there's been one or two times, but most people are kind of like, most people that they've talked to on the show have been like, yeah, whatever, it's your life, I wouldn't do it. And like her example is how people would be like, oof, I couldn't do that. And she's like really super offended. I'm like, I think that's a pretty honest thing. I used to have 4 dogs. And people would be like, oh, that's so many dogs. And I was like, okay, well, then don't have 4 dogs. Like, that's fine. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But that is my big takeaway from this sneak peek for, I guess, either last night's episode if you bought it early, or next week's episode if you're like me and you're going to watch it on TLC or Max or whatever. So there you go.